Great. Thanks so much. I have the privilege of presenting Cathy Fletcher, who's pursuing a Master of City Planning degree at BU. She has had experience working as an environmental engineer in the private sector, and more recently did a stint with AmeriCorps. With her positive outlook and task-focused approach, Cathy is working with Durham, New Hampshire to help us meet our climate leadership goals and commitments by analyzing the potential for increased carbon sequestration from new land use policies and projects. Cathy's also focusing on opportunities for collaboration with key local and regional partners and stakeholders, including the Durham Energy Committee, the Oyster River Cooperative School District, and the University of New Hampshire. Take it away, Cathy.
Thank you so much, Todd. So changing the land has a direct impact on climate change through emitting or removing carbon dioxide. A 2019 IPCC Climate Change and Land Report notes that all scenarios limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels rely heavily on land use change mitigation methods. The town of Durham is striving to be a leader in the face of climate change and has done so by being among the first towns to conduct a land use greenhouse gas inventory this summer. This inventory considered both carbon emissions and removals occurring from land use change in Durham from 2006 to 2016. Some examples of carbon removals are on this page. Some removals or sinks occur within trees inside and outside forests, while some sources of emissions include forest land converted to non-forest land, canopy loss outside of forests, or forest disturbances through fire, harvesting, or insects and disease. However, emissions and removals from land use changes are not straightforward and consider many more factors than simply area change. For example, in Durham's case, converting forests to settlement had higher emissions per unit area than converting forests to grassland. The findings from this inventory help the town prioritize certain land use changes over others to reduce emissions and maintain their removals, and also helps guide them in creating specific carbon reduction targets as part of their broader goal of combating climate change. The work from this summer will also be used as a framework for future land use greenhouse gas inventories for Durham. Next slide, please. So through this work, a big takeaway was that land use prioritization will be key in Durham mitigating climate change. As shown on the graph to the left, Durham has multiple sources of land use sinks and emissions. Their largest carbon sink was occurring in forests, while their largest emitting source was through forest disturbances from harvests and insects and disease. However, land use is just one piece of the puzzle in Durham, and community involvement is needed to reduce their emissions. Prior to my work this summer, a community-wide greenhouse gas inventory that was completed that focused on sectors other than land use. The graph on the right summarizes both inventories, and when comparing the findings, carbon removals from land use were equal to about 34% of emissions measured in both inventories. While these removals cannot be treated as direct offsets for the town, it helps them quantify the significance of their land use when considering climate change related decisions. So based on these findings, some next steps include determining forest management scenarios to optimize their carbon sinks and involving the community in developing climate reduction goals to reduce emissions from land use and the other sectors. Next slide. So this summer, I learned more about the public sector and gained some personal experience. In the public sector, I realized that municipalities can be on the front line combating climate change and can have real impact in their communities. I also learned that advocacy and municipal projects can take some time, and in order to see them through, you need to have patience and passion for the change. Personally, I gained a better understanding of the technical aspects of climate change, and I was able to establish some connections within the Durham community. I wanted to take a moment to thank my mentors, Todd and Jen, my advisors, Cameron and Kendall, and members of the Durham Energy Committee, Nat and Jim, for supporting my work throughout this summer and making it such a great experience. So lastly, I leave each of you with this parting question. So in light of threats happening across the globe, such as forest fires, and threats happening more locally, such as invasive species, how can we ensure that our forests and trees are able to continually serve as carbon sinks that we need to mitigate climate change? Thank you.